We'll go straight to the board to vote. There's no debate. Yes. It's probably easier if you work off this one. We're voting, so no talking. Yes, but we are going through each one individually so that you have a chance to debate each one. Yep.
We're in debate, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, we're in vote.
We're receiving the report, so we're voting only.
Okay.
What are you leaning forward for? You can't vote.
No, I was going to give some clarity, but
Hang on, we'll just hurry up, Dave.
Receiving the report, so
Get a wriggle on.
we've started the vote, me, Andrew. Councillor McPherson's card's out.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Motion B, moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor. We'll go straight to the vote. Reset the clock, please. Could we reset the board? Thank you.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, so motion 3, C, has the Councillor Angela amendments with it.
No.
Sorry,
Oh, you were correct, me, Andrew, except that it's been.
I'm working off my bit of paper here.
Would you care to explain, Councillor O'Leary, or would you like me to?
Yeah, no, D, my amendment to D would be a direct negative
D.
of the status quo.
Oh, sorry.
Remission, so I won't put an amendment. Yes, that's right.
Apologies. So we're on C, yeah.
The motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, so we're on D. I'll just get Leanne, Democracy Manager, to explain the situation.
Certainly. So, elected members, earlier Councillor O'Leary indicated an amendment to D, which was staff recommendation 2B, Roman numerals 4. However, on reflection, she has recognised that it's a direct negative, i.e. the effect of her amendment would be achieved if the motion were voted down. Consequently, she's not putting forward an amendment.
Sure.
Leonie, you're saying that as it stands, the motion is to get rid of the rates, as in to keep the full remissions again for that 3 years, as we passed the last thing.
The motion is Mayor King's motion. So as written in D on your piece of paper.
Yeah, what's
the
the
status quo is, as these gentlemen can support as well, that the current proposed developments policy, which you've just accepted in B, includes full CBD remission as it is currently written.
Until 2021.
Until 2021.
Oh, got it, right, yes, thank you. I was just trying to get the point in time.
Yep.
Does that effectively mean that we've collected 1/3 DCs in this current year, and that, assuming that the status quo remains, we will have collected DCs at the rate of 1/3 in this current year, and then following on, we will go back either way with this motion, we will go back to having 0 DCs for the next 2 years.
I'll just explain my motion, if you'll just indulge me a little bit. So
Thank you.
it stays at a third until the next 10-year plan. After the next 10-year plan, it goes up to two-thirds. The remission stays at 2/3 until the next 10-year plan. At the next 10-year plan, it goes up to, the remission goes to 1/3. And at the following 10-year plan, it goes to 100%.
Status quo at the moment is to return to 0 DCs,
100% remission.
100% remission from the 1st of July 2019.
Yes.
But currently we've only got we've only got 2/3 remission, haven't we?
Yes, so there's a group of people who would have paid DCs in the last year at a third.
Yep.
And then the year before, they wouldn't have paid anything. They
Yep.
would have paid a third this year, and then they'll be going back down to 0 again next year.
If this isn't passed. Yep. Okay,
So
thank
can
you.
I just make sure that we've got that right? The current policy says you pay 33% of the charge until 1 July. In the next year, you pay 66% of the charge until 2021, and following that, you pay all of the charge. And so in the paper, the one that Councillor O'Leary is referring to, that is that you pay no DCs for the next 2 years until 2021, and then following that, you revert to full development contributions. And the Mayor's proposal is, as he described, so sorry, I just wanted to make sure that because it's a little bit...
Councillor O'Leary's proposal is what will happen if this doesn't pass.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Which is going to 100% DCs in 2021.
And
We'll go back to 0 DCs from the 1st of July.
And I have some projected revenue numbers in relation to those possible outcomes. The first is the current policy, the 18-19 policy, which is the baseline, is no effect if that was to be the end position. The recommendation in the report, which is that there will be no DCs payable in the next 2 years, that's an effect of for 6.4 million. And the recommendation that the Mayor has proposed has an estimated impact of 4.9 million over that period. In what period? Over the 10-year plan period.
Oh, so it's not more than...
So full remission, 6.4 million, mayoral motion, 4.9 million, and current policy baseline, 0.
We see that spread out in the table, because that does seem a bit odd, because the Mayor's one actually goes on longer than Councillor O'Leary's does.
That's right. And part of the reason is because the mayoral recommendation for the, hold a sec, I'm just going to defer to expert Stafford. The half
you were
in the
the
next
expert.
year. Well, I just did this on my computer 3 minutes ago. So
They're largely the same, councillors, except for there's some economic impact that there's developments that are currently scheduled to go underway this year, which will pay a third of the DCs. It's expected, and we've modelled that they won't pay any DCs because they'll defer their consenting activity till next year, where they won't pay any DCs. So that's primarily why the difference between Angela's proposition and the Mayor's proposition.
thanks, Stafford.
But you would have collected some DCs up until the date of that decision, the date of Angela's decision, because some applications would have gone through and they would have paid their 1/3 DCs.
There's a couple of very large developments that have been assessed for development contributions, but they haven't had to pay any DCs yet. It's anticipated that these developments will delay their
Hold over
activity
until the 1st of
next
July.
year and
Yep.
then land a new consent to avoid paying several $1 million in development contributions.
But some will have already paid though, not those
there-
two. Some,
There is a couple of very minor developments that are very noteworthy.
so it's insignificant, the amount that we've already received.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Any other questions? Can we clear the board? Sorry, Councillor Dave.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I'm not comfortable with stretching it out that far, so I'm thinking of moving an amendment myself that the remission be the current 66% that was current in the LTP and through until the end of this LTP period, and then go to zero remission. Rather than phasing down, in other words, keep the 66% for the period we're sitting in right now, the 3-year period we're sitting in right now, right through to the end of the 3-year period, and then nothing. So it's different from both of yours.
I understand. Oh, and then go to nothing.
Yeah. So it'd be a foreshadowed one, I guess.
Just no, the amendment, it would be the state amendment.
Oh, because yours is a negative, so it's no amendment.
Yeah.
Understood that? Is that okay?
Yep.
So it will stay where it presently is for a longer period of time,
Not
Dave?
quite because of the motion of Angela's, but say where the LTP has it at the moment,
Right.
which
so
is
it's
66%.
remission.
No, 66%
So
DC.
So it's
Yeah,
pay 33% this year, pay 66% next year.
And then 66% would stay.
Sorry, yeah, yeah.
Then 66% would phase out the following year. I'm confused.
So councillor McPherson, are you not saying pay 33% next year and the year after, which is the same as what people are paying right now? Is that your proposal?
Yeah, well, I'm confused about what they're paying right now.
They're paying
Because
33%.
we've got two different things we're talking about. One's the LTP decision and the other's Angela's resolution, which she got through last week.
So regardless of the decision today, the change wouldn't come into effect till 1 July?
Yeah.
So today until 1 July, irrespective,
They're paying-
developers will pay 33%?
No, right now aren't they paying?
They pay
They pay
33.
33%.
66% off. That's buy one, get two free.
Yeah, sorry, and I'm looking, yeah. I'm suggesting that continue for the LTP period.
Yep,
and
that's
then-
what I thought,
then-
yep.
Then cease. Yep. If I could have the wording, yeah.
What, if the motion and the amendment are defeated, can I just be crystal clear, what is the impact of that?
That's mine,
Angela's, which is 0.
which is a full remission for 2 years, then stop,
Then stop remission.
Then stop.
which is what we accepted in the annual.
Right, because that is the current status quo then promotion, not what we're doing in practice at the moment, obviously.
Right. So in effect, yeah, so either the McPherson or the Mayor motion amendment at this point would reflect what is actually happening at this point.
On 1 July,
Yeah, yeah,
supersedes what's happening now.
yeah.
Yeah. That reflects councillor McPherson's intention, as I understand it.
No, we need to get our heads around these two things.
Councillor Angela's one still has to survive the annual plan process, doesn't it? So it's still not actually true status quo.
It's just what we take into the annual plan.
Yeah.
I assume that the purpose of whichever one of these motions is the one that's already on the table gets through, that they go out to consultation. So it's not the final decision here today?
No, and
Okay.
that's covered in the last motion.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, okay, I haven't read that for a while. Yep. Yep. It's not clear as day, is it, this whole DC thing?
We're just pretending we know what they're doing.
Pardon?
We're just pretending we know what we're doing.
It is anyway, with any of them, even with my one.
That's why I decided I don't think we should even signal what we're doing out there, because it's going to be completely dependent on the politics at the time.
The politics change, councillor Dave.
So do CEOs.
Boom.
Sorry.
You just got owned. I'm going to just ties them on the
Well, I suppose, yeah, in order to differentiate from the steps.
So, Dave, by putting in N0 from April 2021, you're going to have a whole lot of people holding back consents.
No, the opposite.
Rushing in.
Rushing in. But for 2 years to rush in. You see what I mean?
You've got it.
It's a remission, it's not a DC.
Signalling it's coming to an end. Get in
Sorry,
while
I
you
misunderstood. I'm with you. So you're saying 2021 we go to 100% DCs?
Yeah. Well, depending on what the LTP decision is, I'm actually, whichever thing gets through,
Yep.
there's going to be a big debate in 2 years' time about that, I'm sure.
Which was also my intent, 2021.
And even if yours goes through, Andrew, you're still going to, the council of the day can still change it.
So Angela, can you or Dave remove one of yours and get?
Well,
No,
ours-
I'm not on there,
Because
but that was my
Yeah,
intention,
get it.
2021.
the difference
gone.
between mine and Angela's, she wants complete remission to go for 2 years, and I'm saying, no, they should pay a bit for 2 years.
And you're leaving it what it is now.
Yeah.
Flatlining it. So
At least it's less complicated, isn't it, than perhaps the mayor's one, in terms of the remission. What's that one? Less complicated.
What is current, the last live resolution of the council is that what goes through to the annual plan is 100%.
He's going to a DC conference.
So have we got a seconder? Dave? Councillor Dave, have you got a seconder? Yep. Councillor Jones?
Cayman Islands,
Why do you think our DCs are so high?
What's that line? Yeah, DC managers travel.
You just put it in the formula, don't you?
I'm taking the whole team.
All the kind of staff.
No, he's taking the whole building.
Councillors, I was going to get Greg. Yeah, I'll get Greg to explain it to everyone. Councillors, I think things are moving. We need Greg. Can you? So can you please explain the motion and the amendment in the context of what the city is giving away and what the developers are going to be paying, not from the total number point of view, but in terms of the percentages, because the percentages just changed.
And it did just change.
And it just changed. So in the case, we currently have a 33, say what we currently have in terms of...
Do we want to refer to it as what? Okay, so I'm just going to explain, I'll explain this, the current policy, motion D and the amendment, but I'll talk about, when I say remission, that means off, so if it's a 33% remission, that's 33% off. So the current policy says you get a 33% remission, 66% remission until 1st of July, then you get a 33% remission until 1st of July the next year, and then following from that you get no remission. So you pay full DC. So it steps up in 3 steps. The motion, part D, says you'll get a 66% remission until 1 July, status quo, because we're not amending the policy to then. Subsequent to that, for 2 years you get the same 66% remission. And then we'll have a new LTP, and following that new LTP for 20, I'm not sure what that 2021 to 30 means, but for the next period of the LTP.
The 30th of June, for the next LTP.
Oh, I see, I got you. And then after the next LTP, you will then get 33% off, or a 33% remission, and then in 2 LTPs time, it'll move on to no remission. That's right, that's the motion. And then the amendment says until 1 July we'll have a 66% remission, that's what we've already got. And then from 1 July for 2 years we will continue to have a 66% remission until the next LTP when we review. Well, it goes to zero by default, but, but you'd expect some, there's the opportunity to review, put it that way. Does that help?
Yeah, so it's the same. First part is the mayor's one, but it's removed the 33% remission part.
Correct.
That's really the difference.
Yes.
So your one, Dave, is going to... All DC's quicker than my one? Yes. By 3 years?
Yeah, well, depending on the LTP result, yes. Angela's is doing the same, but it's at 100% remission for the next 2 years.
Which is the motion that was passed at the AP.
Yeah, which...
Correct.
Which is current. If these were knocked down, then the default would be back to the motion that council's already passed.
That's my understanding. Yes. Nods. Yes.
So that's 0 for the next 2 years and then...
Yep.
Correct.
100%.
But in terms of D and the amendment, in terms of the current developers are currently writing a cheque for that amount.
Yeah, for the next...
But they will not get on the 1st of July the 0.
Under both of those, no, they will get a 66% remission.
Which is what they're doing at the moment.
Correct.
But if we defaulted to the AP resolution,
Yes.
then they would go from to 0.
66 to 100% remission.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to debate. Yes. So talking with members, my understanding was the majority of members and the majority of the public, when I've talked to them, have said that they do understand that DCs do need to come in for into the CBD in time. And I think people accept that it does need to come in time, and even the presenters this morning, from what I heard, accepted that DCs did need to come in time. And that's what I've tried to set up with my motion, is to hold the 33% we've got now that's already been in for a year, that people have been paying for the last 12 months. So why would you reverse back out of what we've already got in place, but hold it until the next 10-year plan? At the next 10-year plan, have it increasing so that they pay then 66%, and then at the following 10-year plan, they then would pay 100%. So I've tried to push it out, and it originally was over a 3-year process. I pushed it out over a 9-year process, so it just slowly phases in. And I did that to try and accommodate what I felt was the feeling around the table of a slow phase-in. And it is quite a long phase-in, but I think it's what everybody, not necessarily around this table, but it's what the as we heard from the people who represent the CBD this morning, indicated that they do understand it does have to come in with time, and rather than bring it in one whack of going from nothing to 100%, it's coming in over a 9-year period instead of the 3-year period that we originally had. And there's just one other thing I want to point out about DCs in the CBD, is that a DC in the CBD for a 1-bedroom apartment is around about $10,000. For a 2-bedroom apartment, it's around $15,000. And for a 3-bedroom apartment in the CBD, it's around about $20,000. And as well as that, they get a credit for what was already on the site. So it would be very rare that it would ever be that high, because there's always been something on the site beforehand. Even if there's nothing on the site at the time, if they can prove there was a building on there going back, they get that credit. And for the same, for a good example is a 3-beddy apartment anywhere else apart from the CBD, the standard CB on that's the standard DC on that is 35%. So the DCs in the CBD are already nearly half of what they are anywhere in the city anyway. And that's because all the infrastructure is already here. So there doesn't have to be a whole lot of stuff in our annual plan to upgrade things in here, because it's already here. And that's why it's around about half in the first place. So as well as the people who are building in town here, the developers, they're already getting DCs at half of what they are in the greenfield areas out of the town. As well as that, we're slowly phasing this in over a 9-year period as well. Councillor Angela. Sorry, the mover of the amendment, Councillor Dave.
Yeah. Look, I agree with the first part, or probably 90% of what you've said. The only difference is a tactical one. I think that developers should be paying something to council, and they are paying something right in this year we're sitting in now, and I think they're accepting, they're a bit grumpy, but they're accepting of that. And we've heard about the big developments that are sitting there waiting, and where they've been measured up for DCs and will formally lodge it, I suppose, depending on the decisions we make in the annual plan round, either before or after the 30th of June. I think we should, if we continue the regime we have right at the moment, that will continue to get something out of them. I think one of the questions to Vanessa was quite instructive this morning. We asked her how long they should continue to pay it, and she openly said the 2021 review period was the time to do that, to check whether they should still be paid. And I think also, I've spoken to a couple of developers myself in the last 3 weeks or so about this, and I get the sense that if we go the fast development we're having in the CBD, or redevelopment we're having in the CBD at the moment, hasn't got a huge amount of time to run, and if we give 2 years warning of it being phased out, and we're going to charge full DCs after that period, that's enough for all likely decent-sized developments to get organised and get to put their applications in front of us. It may be, if there's still a whole lot that are hanging around waiting for developments afterwards, we could change it the next LTP. But I think if we signal they've got another 2 years at the current level, at the moment we're going to get capture most of that, and they're going to be paying something, which they haven't been up until last year. So I just don't think we need to give them a further remission and out another 3 years at this point. That's all.
Councillor Angela.
Thank you, Mayor Andrew. Certainly, Councillor McPherson and I are on the same page. The quantum is just slightly different. Look, I won't sit in the chamber and say I told you so, but I knew this would come when we looked at the policy, and I think when we get on to the next bit and we talk about Rotakauri, there are some significant challenges for us with this policy, and I did see that coming last year. However, I think I spoke to Mike Neal offline, and he said an estimated $200 million in economic benefit in terms of investment and development in the CBD since 2013 has occurred, since we put in that policy. And if you want to attract rabbits, you plant carrots. And that's what Council did. Council took a strategic approach. I would have preferred to have seen the amendment as the motion, because I would have supported it. But look, let's signal, and that is what the amendment does as well, signal to the investment community the time is ending. It is in 2 years' time. We want to see another massive injection of investment in our central city. And just look around at what is happening. The face of Anglesey Street opposite Seddon Park is completely changing. We're losing those landmarks that we had, and there's incredible investment happening. And that is in part because of the plans that we've had, the river plan, the Central City Transformation Plan, but also the carrots that we planted. So I heard what HCBA and Mike Neal said. They know that that the time will come that this ends. But let's just not stop what's working. Because it is working and it is evidence. And I do have a problem with growth pays for growth. I think it's very blunt, and as I indicated, when we talk next about the issue with Rotakauri, or we've already done that, that's that principle of growth paying for growth coming back to bite us. So I'm in a little bit of a predicament, because if I want the motion to fail, but I want the amendment to win, but I am going to have to vote against both of them, because the status quo is my preferred option.
Councillor Paula.
Thank you, Mayor Andrew. I'm going to speak in favour of the amendment, although I'm not dissimilar to Councillor O'Leary in thinking that the status quo was where we were heading. But I'm happy to support the amendment because, as she quite rightly points out, this will go out for consultation through the long-term plan, and we'll be able to get a lot more information around it to make the final decision from. So it's not over at this moment. There were a number of us that during the LTP signalled some concern about putting any mechanism in place that stopped growth in the CBD. We did have this conversation, and a number of us proposed that it should be phased out rather than bluntly removed. So this is where we've ended up now. We've had some reaction, and we are now looking at some kind of phasing. Where that phasing lands, I'm not sure. I'm concerned that the time period may be too short, but I'll be inviting feedback from the community around that, because there are other barriers to getting CBD development underway besides the development remission. There are the costs of construction. There are, the ability to get people in to do the construction, and all kinds of things that are going to affect a developer's opportunity to develop as quickly as he or she might like. But I'm all for anything that in the next short period of time builds on the momentum that we're seeing around revitalising the Central City CBD, because that was the long-term goal, to get revitalisation, and we're just starting to see it happen. And to do something that would go the other way doesn't make sense to me. So look, I'm going to do this with a will to hear, honestly, the feedback from others, with some concrete examples to help guide us in our final decision in the annual plan.
Councillor Mark.
Thank you. So to frame this is what's going out to public. And it's been reasonably confusing, but with your permission, I'd like to make an admission about the ambition for the CBD remission. Or the omission of or reduction of the abolition of the commission of the remission. So I went in with some commission about this mission, or some contrition about this mission, to get the best juxtaposition of the CBD remission, but I think the Mayor's rendition of the CBD remission is the best transition. So I'm no man's magician or tactician or arithmetician, and I may need tuition, but the Mayor's edition of this edition is the best, I think the best permission position, or definition of the remission. So build up, not out, that's my position. I've lost me.
Well done, Mark. Very good. Councillor Ryan, do you want to forfeit your right to speak, mate? It's pretty hard to beat that.
I reckon. Yeah, I'm sorry, my head's still spinning after that. Look, one of our pillars is to build a great river city, and I think we're doing that. And I think to try and turn that around within 2 years is just a little bit tight. I take Councillor Angela's point about planting carrots, but I don't think we should plant all our carrots at once. The remission, according to Mike O'Neill and another property developer, has led better quality of buildings. Developers have been putting that difference back into the quality of building, which is also something which is really important for us. And I can no longer support the current status quo position of Councillor O'Leary, because we go from 0 to 100 over 2 years, and we're going to have anomalies like Stafford talked about, where people are going to withhold vital DCs that we need. So either at least Councillor Daves or the Mayor's brings in a percentage of DCs immediately, but I'll be supporting the motion.
I'm just deciding whether to speak or not, but we'll go to the board to vote. Yeah, this is the McPherson amendment.
The amendment is equal.
Can we see who voted what way?
We can't put it up. You have to make a decision before we put it up.
I suppose have a conversation with the Mayor, decide whether he's going to progress anyway.
Someone declared they voted the wrong way and asked them to be done again.
So I will vote with the amendment
Using your casting vote.
using my casting votes.
We see the original result.
It will come up, Martin.
Yep, so the amendment is carried on the casting vote of the chair.
So the amendment now becomes the motion.
Yes, so we re-vote now. We'll talk. We can't talk now while we're in the middle of voting, but I'm happy to talk afterwards.
So we're voting for the amendment.
Yes.
Which is now the substantive motion.
Yeah.
The amendment as a substantive motion is carried, 11 for, 1 against.
I'll talk to you later.
I shouldn't, but tactically, we might have lost both of them if I didn't vote the way I did. Okay? That's why I voted the way I did, and that's why I was hesitating so much. Okay, enough said, but
The purpose of today's meeting, it is 5 o'clock and we're about to start the purpose of today's meeting.
no, it's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, we're Greg, don't run away.
Greg, don't run away. Oh, yeah, okay. A hat that says causal nexus.
Okay, so we're now on E. Okay, so excuse me, we're voting now on E. Okay, so we're on the voting board. So this is moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor. This is very straightforward. So we're on the board to vote.
Motion is carried unanimously.
And now we're voting on F.
Yeah, F just notes the impact of decisions already made.
Okay, we're done. We'll move on. That's that wrapped up. Don't go away.
The motion is carried
So
unanimously.
So just before we move on from this paper, Sean, Greg, especially Sean, you're happy we've completed this? There's nothing we've forgotten? Sorry, has this been moved around and?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
You're comfortable that
Absolutely.
we've wrapped it all up on that one? Okay, so we're going to item 11 on page 98. Sorry? No, item 12? Oh, sorry, up to 13, sorry. Page 249.
Bring us a hat and a t-shirt.
Okay. So are there any questions on this? No, so we'll go straight to debate. Is there any debate? No, so we're going straight to voting. This moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Okay, everyone be quiet, please. We're voting.
The motion is carried unanimously.
So, item 14, resolution to exclude the public, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor James. All those for, any against, carried unanimously.